Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back if you've been here before, and if you're new here, please subscribe. It would really mean the world to me. My name's Kira and I talk about all things career, business and finance, and I really hope today's video helps you to understand what burnout is, what the symptoms are, what causes it, and also how to bring yourself out of a burnout or making sure that you don't experience one in the future. So burnout is extremely serious. It has caused people to die. It also leads to heart disease, type 2 diabetes. It's often seen as a precursor to more serious mental issues such as depression or anxiety. It is something that everyone should be mindful of and making sure that they recognize the symptoms, that they know what to do about it if they do experience the symptoms, and overall just take a more proactive approach to avoiding burnout. So let's start first with what burnout is. So the Mayo Clinic says that burnout is a type of workplace stress. It is also categorized as a state of physical and emotional exhaustion that often leads to a sense of lack of achievement and lack of personal identity or loss of personal identity. So burnout is not yet a medical diagnosis. It's not something that at the moment we can test for in terms of blood work or a certain type of test to say that you have burnout or not. It's something that you have to identify yourself and make sure that you yourself are looking after yourself if you do feel any of these symptoms. However, it has, as I mentioned, been a precursor to serious actual medical conditions such as depression, anxiety, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and has led to death in the past for certain individuals who've been extremely stressed and burnt out for quite a period of time. So what are the symptoms of burnout? What should you be looking out for? In terms of emotion, you should be looking for extreme fatigue, extreme stress, sometimes insomnia or too much sleep. You should be looking at your emotions. Are you feeling very angry, sad, cynical, critical, irritable, just in general not yourself and feeling very much in an aggressive mood? Also, have you experienced additional illnesses such as contracting colds, or your immune system in general is just not doing its job and you feel like you have a constant cough, a constant cold, you're always getting the flu, you're always getting tonsillitis, and your body is just not doing its job properly, your immune system is down. So to talk more about the symptoms, you've become more cynical or critical at work. You just do not care about work anymore. You have very little motivation to get up in the morning. You dread that feeling of sitting at your desk every single day. You wake up and you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to engage with your coworkers. You may be cranky with your coworkers. You may be cranky with your clients or your customers, whereas before you may have been able to put on a smiling face. Even if a customer, for example, is being super rude, you could still manage to fake it for a couple of minutes, whereas right now you can't fake anything. You are emotionally and physically exhausted essentially. You're also finding it really hard to concentrate. You lack focus, which also leads to a sense of lack of achievement, starting to doubt yourself. Essentially, this is really common because what's happening is you are drained emotionally and physically. So you not being able to concentrate or focus is just a symptom of that. It's not you actually not performing like you normally would. It's just that your body is physically not able to process information as fast or to stay focused on anything. You're burnt out essentially. You may also start to feel very disillusioned by your job. So maybe in a job that you actually generally would love. So if you were, for example, you tried to get into graphic design for years and years and now you're here, and yes, you've been working long hours and you've been under a lot of pressure and your boss isn't very nice, or you're not getting along with your coworkers, but you love graphic design, you might start to think like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not for me. And it's not necessarily to do with the graphic design. It's just your situation. It's your workload. It's your overtime, your lack of work-life balance that's causing you to feel like this, but you can't think that through logically because again, your brain is just fried. It's not able to think logically at all. So that's why you might feel very disillusioned at work. Another thing that might be happening to you if you're on your way to burnout or you're already burnt out is that you are using other coping mechanisms that are often unhealthy to make yourself feel happy. Whether this is excessive alcohol use, for example, smoking, you might be going out on really late nights to clubs, or you might be even potentially using recreational drugs to try and give you that sense of high, feeling good, things like that. All of that is pretty serious and you need to be able to notice that you're doing this and address these issues as fast as possible, because of course it's not healthy for you. So another one is that you could be sleeping differently. You could either be insomniac, so you might not be able to sleep at all. Your brain is so wired and you are so fried and you're just constantly thinking about work, stressing about it, that you can't sleep anymore, which is super destructive. Or the other side of it is that you might be sleeping too much, where you can never feel like you are rested. You just feel like you need more sleep all the time essentially, and you just never get enough of it. And then the final one that you might notice is actual physical symptoms of stress, so nausea, vomiting, things that are happening in the bathroom in general, where you just can't process food properly. You may not be able to eat. You might have headaches. You'll just feel different. Something is wrong in your body that's shouldn't be there, and making you even more miserable essentially. So what might cause burnout is a couple of things, and this is not an exclusive list. There are many things that could cause burnout, but this is just a few of them that might help you to understand if this applies to you or not. So the first thing that might be happening is that you feel a lack of control in your job, where you feel like other people are making decisions about your career, about your day-to-day work that you're not happy with, and you feel like you have no say in it, which can cause you to be extremely stressed. Another one is that you have unclear job expectations. Your manager is pulling you in every single direction and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, what you're being assessed against, if you're doing a good job or not, but you're just working and working and working to try and make it so that your manager approves of you, so that you get that promotion or whatever, but you don't have clear expectations set for you that you need to hit. So you've no focus, which again, stress. If you've got any kind of dysfunctional work dynamic, so a really crap culture in work, you may be being bullied by either your coworkers or your manager. Obviously that leads to a serious, feeling of sadness, stress. You don't want to go to the office, and this can eventually lead to a serious burnout in those cases. On that same note, you may feel like you don't have any social support. Now, this applies to both in work and at home. So if you're dealing with stress at work, but you don't have colleagues that you can chat to about it, or if you don't have colleagues that you don't have anyone to go home to that you can also have that conversation with, you are essentially internalizing all that stress, making decisions on it on your own, not asking for feedback, and that can lead to a lot of pressure on one person. And essentially, we as humans just really need that social support to be able to make those big decisions or figure things out in our brain, and without that it can again lead to a lot of stress and anxiety. Another one is that you might experience kind of extremes of activity where you're really busy and it's chaotic for one day, and then the next day there's nothing to do, but you don't know when that chaotic period is going to pick back up. So you have to be always on, and you can't ever feel like you can take a break, so you're constantly in that chaotic mind frame when actually it's not always needed, but you end up burning yourself out because you're expending so much emotional energy just waiting for those chaotic periods. And then the last one is the most obvious one, which is just a lack of work-life balance. Burnout happens when you mold your work and life together and there's no clear separation. So you cannot say at 6 p.m. in the evening, I am no longer working. I am now with my family and my friends, and I'm watching my Netflix show, or I'm going for my run. You are constantly in a state of working, being with people, still switched on, not able to switch off, and it can really lead to serious consequences in terms of your personal life, your happiness, your relationships, and overall just lead to, of course, that's the most common one of burnout, where you're working way too much and not getting enough rest. So the main thing about this video, how do you handle burnout? What do you do to stop yourself from feeling burnout or to remediate the symptoms that you have currently? And also how to proactively prevent burnout in the future. So the 3 things that you can do straight away if you're experiencing any of these signs of burnout is number 1, 2, and 3. You can exercise, eat well, and sleep more. So exercise is shown to be the best and fastest way to relieve burnout symptoms, especially for millennials. Cardio is fantastic. If you go for a run, if you go for a fast walk, if you essentially just do anything that gets your heart racing, your endorphins coming, it's going to help you a lot more in terms of getting rid of these burnout symptoms in the immediate sense. Eating healthy food is going to help you to get all your nutrients in. That also leads to, more endorphins, that happy feeling where your body is working properly. It'll prevent you from getting sick as quickly. So potentially if you have that cold, you know, having the right amount of nutrients in your body circulating around is going to help your immune system to function better and overall make you feel a lot more in control and a lot more on top of your life. And then the last one is to sleep more. And this is easy to say when you are stressed at night and you're always thinking about the next day and dreading it. But what you need to do is switch off all your screens before you go to bed. So, and at least an hour or two before you even go to sleep, go to your bed, you need to be turning off all your screens, because if you are on your laptop up until the point where you go to sleep, of course the last thing that you've thought about is work. It's going to keep you awake, it's going to make you stressed. So you need 2 hours of no screen time, just read a book, talk to your partner, do anything that you can to make sure that you are not thinking about work just before you go to bed, and I promise you will sleep so much better if you differentiate those two things. The next thing you need to do is to take a break. So you need to plan some vacation, and I would even recommend, if you don't have vacation left, to take unpaid leave. You need time off, and you need longer than a 2-day weekend, a 4-day weekend. You need a long break. I know for me anyway, when I take a long weekend, essentially people just pile on the work for me when I come back. So what you need is a 2-week long break or a week-long break where people can't load work up on you. They need to handle it. You need a break. You need to cut yourself off from the world. In your out of office message, say, I am not contactable. Tell your boss I am not contactable. Turn off all the apps in your phone that let you see what's going on in work, because it's only going to stress you out. And do you know what? No one is so important that they cannot take a 2-week break or a 1-week break. Essentially, everyone is in a way replaceable to a certain extent. I'm sure that you are a really good worker, your company loves you, but someone else can manage your stuff for the 1 or 2 weeks that you're off. So let them do it. You need a break. And the final thing you need to do is to look at your options. Once you have, started eating well, exercising, sleeping better, and also taking your break, you're going to be in a better mindset where you can now talk to your manager and say, listen, this is not working for me. I need this and this to change, and really come at it from a logical perspective. If your manager isn't that supportive of all of this, isn't supportive of, you taking care of your mental health, then you need to look at other options. You need to look at other teams in your building, what in your company, where could you move to? Is there another department that you might be able to switch into and get away from that kind of working environment or culture? If there isn't, and you just need a clean break from this company, look for other jobs. Nothing is worth staying in a job if you are tired, miserable, stressed, not able to sleep, feeling sick all the time, not having to create personal relationships with your family, feeling like you don't have a personal life at all, and ultimately just being miserable. Leave the company. Like, you need to go. Life is too short to be that miserable, and you will be burnt out again, even if you've come out of it with using all those other mechanisms essentially to try and get over it. So the last thing that you need to do is to meditate. So meditation has been shown to have a really positive effect on the amygdala, which is a part of the brain that processes emotions. So if you've got a strong and working amygdala, basically your resilience towards stress, your feelings of overwhelm, you'll be able to basically manage those so much better. And by meditating, essentially it allows you to decide how to react rather than letting yourself react immediately. You control your thoughts in that world. So meditation is amazing for if you currently experience burnout, but it's even better as a proactive way to avoid it. So if you're currently in burnout, your brain is likely fried, you are not going to be in the best place to sit down and be silent. You just need to work on, getting outside more, eating better, sleeping more, and then probably starting to meditate. But once you do, essentially you're going to be just in a much better state and be able to avoid that burnout coming back essentially. So how to meditate, there are loads of apps. The two that I'd recommend are Headspace and Calm. The way you choose between them is basically do a free trial of each, and it depends on what voices you prefer. I personally prefer Calm, but if you like the Headspace app, then 100% it's just as good and a really good resource. The next one that you can do is essentially to go for a walk. So go for a walk in nature. Don't bring your phone, don't bring any screens. If you need music, then fine, but honestly it would be better without. Go out, breathe in fresh air, notice your breathing, hear the wind, hear the sea, hear the bushes, or even just like go through a city and hear the cars, hear everything. Be so aware of your surroundings and watch where your thoughts go. Watch, be aware of what you're thinking about and why and what triggers it and things like that. But essentially you want to go back to the state of awareness. Another thing you can do if you don't want to go outside is you can just sit in a quiet room and again, be aware of what you're thinking about. Try and feel present, feel your breath, feel your fingers, feel your toes, and just let yourself kind of come to a calm state. And you literally only have to do this for 2-3 minutes to start with. You know, the pros can do it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but 2-3 minutes is plenty to be able to refocus your brain and refocus your thoughts. And that's what's going to help you become a lot more resilient in managing stress and avoid burnout. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you watching to the end. I as well have experienced burnout, which is why I'm so passionate about people noticing the symptoms and basically avoiding feeling completely miserable all the time and not knowing what to do about it, or that there is a thing called burnout that does cause, you know, these kind of symptoms, and that you can reverse them and prevent them as well. So if you've ever experienced burnout, please let us know what it was like for you in the comments, and more importantly, how you overcame burnout and what you do now to prevent yourself going into it in the future. Other than that, I'd really appreciate if you guys could like this video, comment if you watched the end, I'd love to know, and also subscribe. I would really love for you to join the community and come back and watch more videos all about lifestyle, career, business, and finance essentially. So I really hope to see you again, and thanks again for watching. Have a great day. See you. Bye.